The morning shift at Luna Base started like any other Tuesday. Commander Jake Morrison sat at his desk, drinking coffee that tasted like it had been recycled through the air filters too many times. The communication center hummed with the quiet sounds of machines working and technicians typing at their keyboards. Outside the thick windows, Earth hung like a blue marble against the black of space. Jake had been running the same test for 3 years now. Every month, he would power up the deep space communication array and send out a signal to make sure everything worked properly. The signal was simple, just a basic message that said the emergency systems were working fine and Earth was safe. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. He walked over to the main console where technician Amy Foster was already preparing the equipment. Amy was one of the best technicians he had ever worked with. She could fix anything and never complained about the long hours or the terrible food. "Ready for another exciting test, Commander?" Amy asked with a small smile. She knew how much Jake hated the routine tests, but they both understood why they were important. "Oh, you know how much I love pressing the same buttons every month," Jake replied. "But if we ever need to call for help, we better make sure this thing actually works." Amy nodded and began the startup sequence. The massive dish outside the base slowly turned toward deep space, its metal surface reflecting the light from the sun. The communication array was one of the most powerful transmitters humans had ever built. It could send messages across the galaxy, though no one expected anyone to be listening. As the system powered up, Jake noticed something odd on one of the screens. The solar activity monitor was showing higher than normal interference levels. The sun was having one of its bad days, throwing out extra radiation and magnetic fields that could mess with communications. "Should we wait for the solar storm to pass?" Amy asked, looking at the same readings. Jake thought about it for a moment. The test was scheduled for today, and headquarters expected their report by the end of the week. The interference was not that bad, and the message was just a simple test signal anyway. "No, let's go ahead," Jake said. "It's just a test. Even if it gets a little scrambled, it won't matter." Amy began the transmission sequence. The message was programmed into the computer in standard Earth languages, but the system also had a basic translation protocol that would convert it into what scientists thought might be a universal mathematical language. It was all guesswork, really. Since humans had never met any aliens before, the message was simple: emergency systems operational, all clear. Earth status, stable population, no immediate threats, routine system check complete. The computer would send this message in several different formats, just to be thorough. Jake watched the power levels climb as the dish focused all its energy into a tight beam aimed at the center of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, maybe some alien civilization might pick up the signal. Most scientists thought it would take hundreds of years for any message to reach another star system, and hundreds more for a reply to come back. The transmission lasted only a few minutes. As soon as it was done, Amy began shutting down the system to save power. She was just about to turn off the main transmitter when something strange happened. The solar interference hit the signal, just as it was leaving the communication array. The magnetic fields from the sun twisted and bent the message, scrambling parts of it and making other parts repeat over and over. What had been a clear, simple message became something very different. 300 light-years away, in a star system that humans had never seen, the Zentari Empire was monitoring deep space communications. They have been listening to the galaxy for thousands of years, always hoping to find new civilizations to help and trade with. The Zentari were a peaceful people who believed that all life was precious and should be protected. Admiral Kethfer was reviewing the night's communication logs when he noticed something unusual. A signal had come from a remote part of the galaxy, from a system that their star chart said contained a young yellow star. The signal was weak and badly damaged, but their computers had managed to decode parts of it. What the Zentari translation systems heard was not what Jake Morrison had sent. The scrambled message, twisted by solar interference and filtered through alien translation protocols, told a very different story. To Zentari ears, it sounded like a desperate plea for help. The words emergency and population came through clearly, but the rest was garbled. The phrase, "no immediate threats," had been twisted into something that sounded like "no immediate hope." Admiral Kethver read the translation with growing alarm. The message seemed to be saying that an entire world was dying, that their population was in danger, and that they had no way to save themselves. The repeated parts of the signal, caused by the solar interference, made it sound like the same desperate message being sent over and over again. "Contact the Council immediately," Kethver ordered his communications officer. "We have a potential extinction event in the Sol system. Prepare a rescue fleet." The Zentari had strict laws about helping other species. Whenever they found a civilization in danger, they were required to offer assistance. They had saved dozens of worlds over the centuries, and they were proud of their reputation as the galaxy's protectors of life. Within hours, the Zentari Council had approved a massive rescue mission. They would send their best medical ships, their most advanced terraforming equipment, and their finest doctors and scientists. If an entire world was dying, they would do everything in their power to save it. Back on Luna Base, Jake Morrison was finishing his paperwork. The test had gone smoothly as far as he could tell. The equipment had worked perfectly, and the signal had been transmitted without any problems. He filed his report and prepared to go home to his small apartment on the base. He had no idea that his routine test had just triggered the largest rescue mission in galactic history. He could not have known that hundreds of alien ships were already being prepared for the journey to Earth. The Zentari were coming to save humanity from a disaster that did not exist. Dr. Lisa Grant was working late at the Xenobiology Research Center in Colorado. She had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life, and she had always dreamed of making first contact with another species. Her office was filled with charts and calculations, all trying to figure out where aliens might be and how humans might talk to them. She was reviewing data from the latest deep space telescopes when her computer chimed with an urgent message. It was from the global monitoring network that watched for any signs of alien activity. The message was simple but exciting. Possible artificial signal detected. Origin unknown. Strength increasing. Lisa's heart started beating faster. After 30 years of searching, had someone finally found proof of alien life? She immediately began calling her colleagues and preparing her equipment. If aliens were really out there, and if they were trying to communicate, she wanted to be ready. She had no way of knowing that the signals she was detecting were not attempts at communication. They were the engine signatures of a massive fleet of alien ships. Already halfway to Earth, the Zentari rescue fleet was traveling faster than light, and their ships were putting out energy signatures that Earth's most sensitive instruments could barely detect. As Lisa worked through the night, trying to decode what she thought were alien messages, Admiral Ryan Cole was conducting training exercises with Earth's secret space fleet. The ships had been built in hidden facilities on the dark side of the moon, using technology that Earth had reverse-engineered from a crashed alien probe 20 years earlier. Cole's ships were designed for war. They had powerful weapons, thick armor, and engines that could push them to incredible speeds. They were humanity's insurance policy against the day when hostile aliens might threaten Earth. Cole and his crews trained constantly, preparing for a war that they hoped would never come. None of them knew that war was already on its way, brought by aliens who thought they were coming to save humanity from extinction. The Zentari rescue fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system with a flash of blue light that lit up the darkness. Captain Nexthul stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Healing Wind, and looked at the yellow star that the humans called Sol. His ship was beautiful, grown rather than built, with smooth curves that looked like the inside of a giant shell. The bioship was alive in its own way, its walls pulsing gently with a soft green light. "Begin scanning the third planet," Nexthul ordered his science officer. "We need to understand what kind of disaster we are dealing with." The science officer, a young Zentari named Veltar, worked quickly at his living console. The ship's sensors reached out across the solar system, trying to get a clear picture of Earth. What they found confused them. The planet looked healthy from a distance. The atmosphere was clean, the oceans were blue, and there were no signs of the massive destruction they had expected. Captain, Veltar said, his voice uncertain. The planet appears to be in good condition. I'm not detecting any major environmental disasters or population collapse, Nexthul frowned. The distress signal had been clear, even if it was badly damaged. The humans had called for help, and the Zentari had come as quickly as they could. Perhaps the disaster was not environmental. Maybe it was a disease or a war or some other problem that would not show up on their long-range scans. Prepare the medical relief message, Nexthul said. Broadcast it on all frequencies. Let them know that help has arrived. The message was composed in the Zentari language and then translated into what their computers thought was the human language. Like the original distress call, the translation was not perfect. The Zentari computers had learned human languages from the scrambled signal, so their understanding was limited and flawed. The message that went out to Earth was meant to be comforting. People of Earth, we have received your call for help. We are the Zentari and we come in peace. Our medical ships carry healing supplies and our science vessels can repair your world. Do not be afraid. Help is here. But the translation software turned the peaceful message into something that sounded very different to human ears. The words "do not be afraid" became "do not resist." The phrase "repair your world" turned into "we will take your world." The message that reached Earth sounded like a demand for surrender. Colonel Beth Martinez was working the night shift at the Cheyenne Mountain Complex when the message arrived. She had been monitoring space communications for 15 years, and she had never seen anything like this. The message was clearly from an alien source, and it was directed at Earth. She read the translation on her screen and felt her blood turn cold. The aliens were not asking for permission to help. They were telling Earth to surrender. The message made it clear that alien ships were already in the solar system, and they had weapons that could repair the planet, which sounded like a threat to destroy it and rebuild it the way they wanted. Get me the president, Martinez ordered, her communications officer, and contact Admiral Cole immediately. We have a situation. The alert went out to every military base on Earth and in space. Within minutes, defense systems that had been sleeping were coming online. Missile silos opened their doors, space-based weapons platforms powered up their targeting systems, and radar stations began scanning the sky for signs of the alien fleet. At the same time, Dr. Kevin Hayes was working frantically at the SETI Institute in California. He had been trying to decode the alien signals for hours, and he was starting to realize that something was very wrong. The signals were getting stronger, which meant the aliens were getting closer. But the messages he was receiving did not sound like attempts at peaceful communication. Hayes was one of the few people on Earth who understood how difficult it was to translate between different species. He knew that the aliens might not mean what their words seemed to say. But when he tried to send a peaceful mathematical message back to the aliens, something strange happened. The military had activated their communication jammers to prevent the aliens from gathering intelligence about Earth. Hayes' message was blocked before it could leave the planet. From his perspective, it looked like the aliens were not interested in talking. From the aliens' perspective, it looked like the humans were ignoring their offers of help. The Zentari fleet moved slowly toward Earth, their bioships gliding through space like giant sea creatures swimming through an ocean of stars. Captain Nexthul was puzzled by the lack of response from the humans. Usually, when the Zentari arrived to help a planet in distress, the local population was grateful and eager to communicate. Perhaps their communication systems are damaged, suggested Veltar. That would explain why their original distress signal was so garbled. Nexthul nodded. That made sense. If the humans were in the middle of some kind of disaster, their technology might not be working properly. The Zentari would have to be more direct in their approach. Deploy the medical drones, Nexthul ordered. Send them to the major population centers. If the humans cannot talk to us, we will have to help them without their input. The medical drones were small, automated ships about the size of a car. They were designed to fly into disaster areas and provide immediate medical assistance. Each drone carried powerful scanners that could detect diseases and injuries. And they had supplies of universal healing nanobots that could cure most ailments. From the Centauri perspective, the drones were angels of mercy. From Earth's perspective, they looked like biological weapons. Captain Amy Foster was commanding the orbital defense platform New Geneva when her sensors detected the approaching drones. She had been briefed on the alien threat, and she knew that hostile ships were approaching Earth. The drones were moving fast and heading directly for major cities. Biological attack incoming, Foster reported to her superiors. Multiple small craft approaching major population centers. They appear to be carrying some kind of organic payload. The drones did carry organic payloads, but they were healing nanobots, not weapons. The nanobots were designed to spread through the air and seek out sick or injured people. They would enter the human body and begin repairing damage, curing diseases, and strengthening the immune system, but Earth's military did not know this. All they saw were alien drones carrying biological agents and heading for cities full of innocent people. The decision was easy. Authorize weapons free, came the order from Cheyenne Mountain. Shoot them down. The first missiles launched from New Geneva lit up the sky like falling stars. They were designed to destroy asteroids and space debris, and they hit the medical drones with devastating force. The drones, never designed for combat, were destroyed instantly, on board the Healing Wind. Captain Nexthul watched in shock as his medical drones were shot down. The humans had just destroyed the very help they had asked for. Were they so sick that they could not think clearly? Were they in the grip of some kind of madness? Captain, Veltar said, his voice shaking. The humans are firing on our medical supplies? They destroyed all of our emergency response drones. Nexthul felt a deep sadness in his heart. He had seen this before on other worlds where the population was dying. Sometimes when people were desperate and afraid, they would attack the very people who had come to save them. It was a tragic symptom of species-wide panic. The humans are clearly in the final stages of their crisis, Nexthul said. They are no longer thinking rationally. We must act quickly to save them before they destroy themselves completely. He turned to his weapons officer, a decision heavy in his mind. The Centauri had non-lethal weapons designed for exactly this situation. They could pacify the humans long enough to provide medical treatment. It was not something they liked to do, but sometimes it was necessary to save a species from itself. Prepare the pacification beams, Nexthul ordered. Target their major cities. We need to calm them down before we can help them. The pacification beams were energy weapons that could shut down electronic systems and create a calming effect in biological minds. They were designed to stop riots and panic during disaster relief operations. The Centauri had used them many times to help civilizations that were too frightened to accept assistance. But when the beams struck Earth's major cities, they caused massive power outages and electronic failures. Television stations went dark, internet connections failed, and emergency communication systems shut down. To the humans, it looked like the aliens were attacking their infrastructure. Preparing for an invasion. In military bunkers around the world, the conclusion was obvious. The aliens had destroyed the medical drones to test Earth's defenses. Now they were attacking the power grid to soften up the planet for conquest. The war had begun, and Earth was already losing. Admiral Ryan Cole received the alert while his Hell fleet was patrolling near Jupiter. His ships had been built for this moment, designed to defend humanity against any alien threat. The ships were weapons of war, every line of their construction focused on destruction and death. All ships, this is Admiral Cole, he broadcast to his fleet. We have confirmation of alien attack on Earth. All vessels are to proceed to Earth. At maximum speed, we are now at war. The Hell fleet turned toward Earth, their fusion drives blazing like tiny stars. They were coming to defend their home planet. The power went out in New York City at exactly 3:47 in the morning. One moment the city was alive with millions of lights, and the next moment it was dark. The same thing happened in London, Tokyo, Moscow, and every other major city on Earth. The alien pacification beams had done their work perfectly. shutting down power grids and electronic systems across the planet. In the underground bunkers beneath major cities, emergency generators kicked in with a low humming sound. Military commanders around the world stared at their screens in disbelief. The aliens had just demonstrated that they could shut down human technology whenever they wanted. It was the kind of power that could bring an entire civilization to its knees. General William Carter was deep underground in the Pentagon when the lights went out. He had been in the military for 30 years, and he had never seen anything like this. The aliens had attacked without warning, hitting every major population center at the same time. It was the work of a highly advanced military force. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're getting similar reports from all over the world. Every major city has lost power. The aliens hit us all at once." Carter nodded grimly. This was exactly what military planners had feared would happen if Earth was ever attacked by aliens. The enemy had technology that was far beyond anything humans could build. They could strike anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing Earth could do to stop them. "Get me Admiral Cole," Carter ordered. "We need those ships back here now." Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, Captain Nexthul was watching the results of the pacification beams with growing concern. The humans had stopped firing at his medical drones, which was good, but their cities had gone completely dark. That was not supposed to happen. "Veltar, are you sure the pacification beams are working correctly?" Nexthul asked his science officer. Veltar checked his instruments again. "The beams are functioning within normal parameters, Captain. But I think we may have underestimated how dependent the humans are on their electronic systems. Their entire civilization appears to run on artificial energy." Nexthul felt a chill run down his spine. The Zentari had accidentally made the human crisis much worse. They had come to help a dying civilization, and instead they had crippled the very technology that was keeping the humans alive. The power grids they had shut down were probably running hospitals, water treatment plants, and food production facilities. "We need to restore their power immediately," Nexthul said. "Send down repair drones to fix their energy systems." The repair drones were larger than the medical drones, about the size of a small truck. They were designed to repair damaged infrastructure after natural disasters. Each drone carried advanced tools and materials that could fix almost any kind of technology. They could rebuild power plants, repair communication systems, and restore transportation networks, but to Earth's military, the repair drones looked like the second wave of the alien attack. Colonel Beth Martinez was tracking the new drones from her command center in Cheyenne Mountain. She had been awake for 18 hours straight, coordinating Earth's response to the alien invasion. The stress was getting to her, but she could not afford to rest while her planet was under attack. "More alien craft incoming," she reported to her superiors. "These ones are bigger than the first wave. They appear to be carrying heavy equipment." The repair drones were indeed carrying heavy equipment, but it was construction equipment, not weapons. They had tools for rebuilding damaged cities, not destroying them. But the humans had no way of knowing this. "They're probably bringing in occupation forces," suggested Major Tony Rodriguez, Martinez's second in command. "First they knock out our power, then they send in the troops to take over." Martinez nodded. It made sense from a military perspective. The aliens had already proven they could shut down human technology whenever they wanted. Now they were sending in larger ships to complete the conquest. "Target the new drones," Martinez ordered. "Don't let them reach the surface." The second wave of missiles launched from defense platforms around the world. These missiles were bigger than the ones that had destroyed the medical drones, designed to stop large asteroids and enemy spacecraft. They struck the repair drones with massive explosions that lit up the sky like fireworks on board the Healing Wind. Captain Nexthul watched in horror as his repair drones were destroyed. The humans had just shot down the very equipment that could have restored their power and saved their civilization. They were acting like they wanted to die. "Captain," Veltar said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I think we need to consider the possibility that the humans are not just sick. They may be suffering from some kind of mental illness that makes them reject all forms of help." Nexthul had read about this in the medical files. Some species, when faced with extinction, would develop a kind of collective madness. They would attack anything that came near them, even their own rescuers. It was a tragic end to what had once been a proud civilization. "We cannot give up on them," Nexthul said. "They are still a young species. They may not understand that we are here to help them." He turned to his communications officer. "Try to contact them again. Use simple language. Maybe we can make them understand." The message that went out from the Zentari fleet was meant to be as clear as possible. "Humans of Earth, we are not your enemies. We received your distress call and came to help. Please stop attacking our medical supplies. We only want to heal your sick and repair your damaged world." But once again, the translation software failed. The message that reached Earth was garbled and threatening. The phrase, "We received your distress call," became, "We detected your weakness." The words, "heal your sick," turned into "eliminate your weak." To human ears, it sounded like the aliens were promising to kill anyone who could not fight back. Dr. Kevin Hayes was still working at the SETI Institute when the message arrived. He had been trying to establish communication with the aliens for hours, but every attempt had failed. The military jammers were blocking all outgoing signals, and the incoming messages were becoming more and more hostile. Hayes was one of the few people on Earth who understood that the aliens might not be trying to threaten humanity. He had spent his career studying how different species might communicate, and he knew that translation errors were common and dangerous. But when he tried to warn the military about the possibility of misunderstanding, no one would listen. "Dr. Hayes," his assistant said, "there's a call for you from the Pentagon. They want to know if you can decode the alien battle plans." Hayes felt his heart sink. The military was convinced that the aliens were planning to invade Earth. They were not interested in peaceful communication. They wanted to know how to fight the enemy. "Tell them I'm still working on it," Hayes said. He could not bring himself to admit that he thought the aliens might be trying to help. No one would believe him now, far out in space, Admiral Ryan Coles. Hell Fleet was racing toward Earth at maximum speed. The fusion drives on his ships were running at full power, pushing the vessels to nearly 20% of light speed. The ships were built for war, and they were coming home to defend their planet. Cole stood on the bridge of his flagship, the USS Armageddon, and watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. He had trained for this moment his entire life, but he had never imagined it would happen so soon. The aliens had made a mistake by attacking while the Hell Fleet was still in the solar system. They would learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's home. "Admiral," his weapons officer reported, "we're detecting multiple alien vessels in Earth orbit. They appear to be maintaining position over major population centers." Cole nodded. The aliens were holding Earth cities hostage, using them as shields while they completed their invasion. It was a cowardly tactic, but it was also a smart one. Cole would have to be very careful about how he engaged the enemy. "Prepare all weapons," Cole ordered. "We're going to show these aliens what happens when they mess with humanity." The Hell Fleet's weapons were designed to destroy planets. Each ship carried enough firepower to crack a moon in half. The humans had built these ships to fight enemies they had never seen, using technology they barely understood. Now they were about to use that power against aliens who had come to help them, back on Earth. The power was slowly coming back on in some cities. Emergency generators were working overtime to restore basic services. In hospitals, doctors were treating patients by candlelight. In communication centers, technicians were trying to restore contact with the outside world. But for Captain Nexthul and his rescue fleet, the situation was becoming impossible. Everything they tried to do to help the humans was interpreted as an attack. They had come to save a dying civilization, but the civilization seemed determined to destroy itself rather than accept help. "Captain," Veltar said, "I'm detecting new energy signatures approaching from the outer system. They appear to be human vessels, but they're moving much faster than anything we've seen before." Nexthul looked at the sensor readings with growing alarm. The human ships were putting out energy signatures that were off the charts. They were not merchant vessels or exploration ships. They were warships, designed for nothing but killing and destruction. How long until they reach us? Next fool asked. At their current speed, less than 6 hours, Valtar replied. Admiral Ryan Cole stood on the bridge of the USS Armageddon and watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. His flagship was a kilometer long and bristling with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Behind him, 12 more ships of the Hell Fleet followed in perfect formation. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built for one purpose: to protect Earth from any threat. The fusion drives of the human ships left trails of superheated plasma that stretched for thousands of kilometers behind them. The energy output was so massive that it lit up space like artificial stars. To the Zentari sensors, the approaching human fleet looked like demons emerging from the depths of hell itself. "Admiral," Commander Sarah Mitchell said from her position, "at the tactical station, we're getting our first clear readings on the alien fleet. The numbers are not good." Cole walked over to look at Mitchell's screens. What he saw there made his blood run cold. The aliens had brought a massive force to Earth. There were over 100 ships in orbit around his home planet, and many of them were enormous. Some of the alien vessels were bigger than Earth's largest space stations. "My God," Cole whispered. "They brought enough firepower to glass the entire planet." What Cole could not know was that most of the Zentari ships were not warships at all. The massive vessels he was seeing were hospital ships, designed to treat millions of patients at once. The other large ships were atmospheric processors, built to clean polluted air and water. The Zentari had brought everything they needed to save an entire civilization, but to human eyes the bioships looked like weapons of mass destruction. Their organic curves and pulsing lights made them appear alive and dangerous. The largest ships had openings that looked like giant mouths ready to swallow space stations whole. The humans had no way of knowing these were actually docking bays for medical shuttles. "What's their weapons configuration?" Cole asked. Mitchell worked at her console, trying to analyze the alien ships. "Sir, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. The ships appear to be biological in nature. We can't identify specific weapon systems, but the energy readings suggest they could be more powerful than anything in our database." Cole nodded grimly. The aliens had technology that was beyond human understanding. Their ships were so advanced that Earth's computers could not even figure out how they worked. This was going to be the hardest fight of humanity's existence. "Signal the fleet," Cole ordered. "Prepare for battle stations. We're going to hit them hard and fast before they can use those weapons on Earth." Lieutenant Don Parker was monitoring communications from his position aboard the USS Retribution. His job was to listen for any intelligence that might help the human fleet in the coming battle. What he heard from the alien ships filled him with dread. "Admiral," Parker reported over the communication channel, "I'm picking up countdown sequences from multiple alien vessels. They appear to be preparing for a coordinated attack." The countdown sequences that Parker was detecting were actually medical deployment timers. The Zentari were preparing to send down their healing teams as soon as the human ships stopped shooting at them. But the mathematical progression looked exactly like targeting solutions to human military analysts. "How long do we have?" Cole asked. "Based on the pattern, I estimate 12 minutes until they begin their attack," Parker replied. Cole felt the weight of the entire human race on his shoulders. In 12 minutes, the aliens would begin their assault on Earth. He had 12 minutes to save his species from extinction. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole," he broadcast to his fleet. "We are humanity's last hope. Those alien ships are preparing to destroy our home. We will not let that happen. Attack Formation Delta 7. Target their largest vessels first." The Hell Fleet spread out into attack formation, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Each ship carried particle beam cannons that could punch through asteroid armor, missile pods loaded with nuclear warheads, and plasma cannons that could melt through any known material. They were built to fight enemies that Earth had never seen. And now they would finally be put to the test on board the Healing Wind. Captain Nexthul watched the approaching human ships with a mixture of fear and sadness. The vessels were clearly designed for war in a way that the peaceful Zentari had never imagined possible. Every line of their construction spoke of violence and destruction. The fusion drives alone were putting out more energy than most Zentari weapon systems. "Captain," Viltar said, his voice shaking, "the human ships are charging their weapons. They are definitely preparing to attack us." Nexthul felt a deep pain in his heart. He had spent his entire life helping other species, saving civilizations from disasters and bringing healing to the galaxy. Now he was about to be attacked by the very people he had come to rescue. "The humans are clearly beyond saving," Nexthul said sadly. "Their madness has consumed them completely. They would rather die fighting than live in peace." The Zentari captain faced an impossible choice. His people were healers and protectors, but they were not helpless. The bioships carried defensive weapons that could protect them from attackers. But using those weapons against the humans would mean abandoning any hope of saving them. "Captain," his weapons officer said, "the human ships will be in firing range in 8 minutes. If we are going to defend ourselves, we need to prepare now." Nexthul looked at Earth on his main screen. The blue planet hung in space like a precious jewel, home to billions of people who could still be saved if only they would accept help. But the humans had chosen war instead of peace, death instead of life. "Prepare defensive systems only," Nexthul ordered. "We will protect ourselves, but we will not fire the first shot. Perhaps when they see that we are not trying to hurt them, they will stop attacking." The Zentari bioships began to change, their organic hulls shifting and adapting for combat. Defensive screens powered up and protective armor began to grow. Over vital systems, the ships were preparing to survive the human attack, hoping that the humans would eventually come to their senses, but Admiral Cole saw the changing alien ships as final proof of their hostile intentions. The bioships were transforming before his eyes, revealing hidden weapons and armor. The aliens had been trying to look peaceful while they prepared their attack on Earth. "They're dropping their disguise," Cole told his fleet. "All ships, commence firing. Show them what human weapons can do." The first shots of the battle came from the USS Hellfire, commanded by Captain Rob Turner. Turner was a veteran of the asteroid wars, and he knew how to kill things in space. His ship's main particle beam cannon had been designed to crack open the largest asteroids that threatened Earth's shipping lanes. The brilliant blue beam lanced out across space and struck the lead Zentari vessel. The bioship's defensive screens flared and held for a moment, but they were not designed to stop weapons of such power. The beam punched through the organic hull and tore into the ship's living core. The Zentari vessel began to die, its biosystems failing one by one. The ship's death cries were broadcast across all frequencies as it called out for help, for healing for its lost crew members. The sounds were unlike anything humans had ever heard, like the weeping of a wounded animal mixed with words of love and forgiveness. Captain Nexthul watched in horror as one of his hospital ships was torn apart by human weapons. The ship had been carrying medical supplies for 1 million patients and healing nanobots that could cure any disease. Now it was dying in space, its precious cargo scattered to the void. "Return fire," Nexthul ordered, his voice heavy with grief. "Defend the fleet." The Zentari ships began to fight back, their bioweapons firing streams of energy that could disrupt human technology. But their weapons were designed to disable, not destroy. They were meant to stop attackers without killing them, to preserve life even in the midst of battle. The human ships shrugged off the Zentari weapons like they were nothing. The Hell Fleet had been built to fight enemies with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The Zentari defensive weapons were powerful, but they were not designed for the kind of total war that humans understood. "Their weapons are not penetrating our armor," Commander Mitchell reported to Admiral Cole. "We can take everything they can throw at us." Cole smiled grimly. The aliens had made a mistake. They had underestimated human military technology. They thought they could conquer Earth with their strange bioweapons, but they were learning that humans knew how to build ships that could survive anything. Continue the attack, Cole ordered. Target their larger vessels. We'll cut the heart out of their fleet. The battle raged across the space around Earth, human weapons tearing into bioships, while alien defensive systems tried desperately to protect their vessels. Neither side understood what the other was really trying to do. The humans thought they were fighting for the survival of their species. The Zentari thought they were defending themselves from a madness that had consumed an entire civilization on Earth below. People looked up at the flashing lights in the sky and wondered if this was the end of the world. They did not know that. The lights were from a battle between their protectors and their would-be saviors. They did not know that their rescue mission had become a war that would change the galaxy forever. The greatest tragedy in galactic history was playing out above their heads. The USS Hellfire fired again, its particle beam cutting through another Zentari bioship like a sword through living flesh. Captain Rob Turner watched the alien vessel break apart, its organic hull splitting open and spilling glowing fluid into space. He had destroyed dozens of asteroids in his career, but he had never killed a living ship before. Direct hit on Target 7, Turner reported to Admiral Cole. The alien vessel is breaking up. But as the bioship died, something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding like a normal spacecraft, the vessel began to broadcast on all communication frequencies. The sounds that came through the speakers were unlike anything the humans had ever heard. They were not mechanical signals or data transmissions. They were voices, crying out in pain and fear. Dr. Kevin Hayes was still at the SETI Institute, monitoring all alien communications. When the death cries reached Earth, his equipment automatically began translating the signals, and what he heard made him feel sick to his stomach. "Help us," the dying voices said. "Why are you killing the healers? We came to save you. Why do you choose war over medicine? We brought healing for your children. Why do you destroy the gift of life?" Hayes stared at his computer screen in horror. The words were becoming clearer as more alien ships died and their translation systems learned from each other. The aliens were not invaders, they were doctors. They were healers who had come to save Earth from some disaster they thought was happening. "Oh God," Hayes whispered, "we got it all wrong." He immediately tried to contact the Pentagon, but the military communication systems were focused on the battle. No one wanted to hear from a scientist when they were fighting for the survival of humanity. Hayes watched helplessly as more alien ships died, each one broadcasting its confused and heartbroken final words. In space above Earth, the battle was turning into a slaughter. The human ships were built for war, designed to destroy any enemy they encountered. The Zentari bioships were built for healing, designed to save lives and repair damaged worlds. In a fight between weapons and medicine, there could only be one winner. Admiral Cole watched another alien ship break apart under his fleet's guns. The Hell Fleet was winning, but something felt wrong. The aliens were not fighting like he expected. Their weapons seemed designed to disable rather than destroy. Their ships were trying to retreat rather than press the attack. It was not how an invasion force should behave. "Admiral," Commander Sarah Mitchell said from her station, "I'm getting some strange readings from the alien ships. Their weapons appear to be non-lethal. And sir, some of their vessels are trying to transmit surrender signals." Cole frowned. Why would an invasion force try to surrender so quickly? They had brought more than 100 ships to attack Earth. They should have been confident in their ability to win, unless they were not an invasion force at all. "Keep firing," Cole ordered, pushing the doubts from his mind. "They attacked our cities first. This is self-defense." But on his flagship's communication system, the automatic translation software was beginning to work. The more alien ships that died, the better. The computers became at understanding their language. And the words that were coming through the speakers were not what Cole expected to hear from an enemy. Captain Nexthul watched his fleet die around him, one bioship after another falling to the terrible human weapons. His medical vessels, his research ships, his atmospheric processors, all of them were being destroyed by the very people they had come to save. "Captain," Veltar said, tears flowing down his face, "the hospital ship Growing Light is gone." 2,000 medical staff were aboard. The research vessel Gentle Rain has lost life support. The healing ship Soft Touch is breaking apart. Each ship that died took with it the tools and knowledge that could have saved Earth. The medical supplies that could have cured every disease known to humanity were being scattered into space. The terraforming equipment that could have cleaned Earth's air and water was being turned into debris. "Captain," his communications officer said, "the human ships are receiving our transmissions. Their translation systems are beginning to understand our language." Nexthul felt a spark of hope. Perhaps when the humans realized what they were doing, they would stop the attack. Perhaps there was still time to save both species from this terrible mistake. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Nexthul ordered. "Tell them who we are and why we came." The message that went out from the healing wind was clear and desperate. "Humans of Earth, please stop this attack. We are not your enemies. We are the Zentari Medical Fleet. We received your distress signal and came to help you. We brought medicine for your sick, tools to repair your world, and knowledge to heal your planet. Please, we only want to save you." Dr. Hayes heard the message at the same time as the military commanders around the world. For a moment there was silence on all communication channels as the terrible truth sank in. The aliens were not invaders. They were rescue workers. Earth had just started a war with its own would-be saviors. "All ships, cease fire immediately." Admiral Cole broadcast to his fleet. But it was too late for some vessels. The USS Damnation, commanded by Captain Lisa Brown, had already fired its main guns. The massive plasma bolts were racing through space toward the largest Zentari bio-ship. Captain Nexthul saw the human weapons coming toward his flagship. The plasma bolts were powerful enough to destroy his ship instantly. In the last moments of his life, he broadcast one final message to the humans who were about to kill him. "We forgive you," Nexthul said, his voice calm and sad. "You did not understand. We came because we heard you were dying. We brought medicine. We brought hope. We only wanted to heal your children and save your world. Please remember that when we are gone, remember that someone in the galaxy cared enough to try." The plasma bolts struck the healing wind and tore it apart. The massive bio-ship died in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth's surface. With it died Captain Nexthul and 3,000 Zentari medical personnel, who had devoted their lives to helping other species. The silence that followed was deafening. The surviving Zentari ships hung motionless in space, no longer trying to defend themselves. They had lost their flagship and their commander, and they finally understood that the humans did not want to be saved. Admiral Cole stared at the wreckage of the alien ship and felt a weight settle on his soul that would never leave him. He had just killed beings who had traveled hundreds of light years to help humanity. He had destroyed a rescue mission and turned it into a massacre. "Sir," Commander Mitchell said quietly, "the remaining alien ships are powering down their weapons. They're broadcasting surrender signals." Cole nodded slowly. "Signal the fleet to cease fire. Do not engage the remaining vessels unless they attack first." The battle was over, but the real tragedy was just beginning. The surviving Zentari ships began to retreat toward the edge of the solar system, carrying with them the knowledge of what humanity was truly capable of. They had come as healers and been met with violence. They had offered medicine and received death in return. Dr. Hayes finally managed to get through to the Pentagon on his emergency line. When he explained what had really happened, there was a long silence on the other end. "Doctor," General Carter said finally, "are you telling me that we just attacked a medical mission?" "Yes, sir," Hayes replied. "We killed people who came to save us. They thought we were dying and needed help. They brought hospitals and healing technology, and we destroyed them because we thought they were invaders." The news spread quickly through Earth's military command structure. Within hours, every world leader knew the truth. Humanity had made first contact with an alien species, and the first thing they had done was murder them. The surviving Zentari ships reached the edge of the solar system and prepared to jump to hyperspace. Before they left, they broadcast one final message to Earth. It was not angry or threatening. It was sad and disappointed. People of Earth, the message said, we came because we thought you needed saving. We have learned that we were wrong. You do not need saving from disaster or disease. You need saving from yourselves. We will tell the galaxy what we have learned here. We will warn them that humanity chooses war over peace, death over life, violence over healing. Do not expect another rescue mission. The galaxy will remember what happened here. The Centauri ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth alone in the dark. The humans had won their first battle against an alien species. But they had lost something far more important. They had lost their chance to join a galactic community that valued life and healing above all else. In the weeks that followed, humanity tried to contact other alien civilizations. They sent messages of peace and friendship into deep space. They broadcast explanations and apologies. But the galaxy did not respond. Word had spread about what happened at Earth, and no species wanted to risk the same fate as the Centauri rescue fleet. Earth's Hell Fleet returned to their patrol routes, but everything had changed. They were no longer protectors of humanity. They were proof of humanity's nature, evidence that humans would fight even those who came to help them. The galaxy had learned to fear the species that would rather kill than be saved. Admiral Cole retired from the military and spent the rest of his life trying to make up for what he had done.